The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. When Jesus had revealed himself to his disciples, and they had finished breakfast, he said to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" He said to him, "Lord, you know that I love you." He said to him, "Feed my lambs." A second time he said to him, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" He said to him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." He said to him, "Tend my sheep." He said to him a third time, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Peter was grieved, because he said to him a third time, "Do you love me?" And he said to him, "Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you." And Jesus said to him, "Feed my sheep. Truly, truly, I say to you, when you were young, you fastened your own belt and walked where you would. But when you are old and you stretch out your hands, and another will fasten your belt for you and carry you where you do not wish to go." This he said to show by what death he was to glorify God. And after this he said to him, "Follow me." The Gospel of the Lord. Well, I don't know if you feel the same way as I do, but I feel a bit grieved like Peter, because I had hoped that we could start celebrating Mass with people, public Masses, at least by Tuesday. Wendy and I sorted out the benches. We've got the benches marked. We bought extra sanitizer, and we've been thinking and praying and getting all excited. But then reality hit when the Cardinal explained to us how serious it is to open our doors. We haven't given up hope, and we are working to find a solution. And I've got something in mind, and I'm hoping it can be acceptable. Peter was grieved. He was upset with Jesus, as we are upset with our situation at the moment. It's over 60 days, and all of us just simply want to be a little freer and to do the thing that we love, to come to Mass. But we can't. Peter was upset because Jesus kept on asking him, "Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me?" Yes, we know that was to eradicate the sin of his denial. 3 denials, 3 proclamations of his love. But Jesus was doing more. And so Jesus does more when we are upset. So let's take today to find out what are the positive things that can come out of this upsetting, this grieving feeling. And I know some of you are depressed and anxious and very, very frustrated. Let's bring all those feelings together and try and find a way that God is using this, as he did when Peter was grieved, to explain something important to us. Now, I don't have the answers, because I'm in the same process as you. But let's open that door. Let's look at our scriptures, because for me the scriptures somehow blend with my everyday personal, emotional life, and I am helped. So here we have Peter saying, "Yes, you are upset because I'm doing this. But I'm doing this for a purpose. I want you to know that I am forgiving you, and that in life there are going to be things that are going to upset us." Because he says right here, he almost says the same thing but in different words. He said, "Now remember, Peter, that when you were young you could do whatever you liked." That we could, for instance, before lockdown, we could do whatever we liked. Well, if you know what I mean. However, during lockdown, we've had to do things that we have not wanted to do. So it's been like somebody else is going to fasten our belt and has told us where we can walk. Now that we are older, we are going to be told to do different things like sanitize our hands, and the scripture says you'll have to stretch out your hands. Well, we have to sanitize our hands, we have to keep a distance. I suppose in a sense we have to stretch out our hands to make sure we are, at a sociable distance from each other. And you will be carried where you do not wish to go. We do not wish to stay at home every day, all day. So you see how the scriptures are speaking to us right now? But why is this all happening? He said this to show Peter what kind of death he was to go through. Why? For the glory of God. So that for me is an indication of what I should be doing when I'm getting upset and grieved about this lockdown. And I join you to walk with me, perhaps, so we together can share this experience and try and find out, how is this going to glorify God? Well, a few little morsels that I'm dwelling on. How positive am I towards other people during lockdown? How do I serve others? And this parish has been wonderful and continues to be wonderful in that way. But what about glorifying God in understanding what it's like not to go to Mass? And that deeper yearning, not in a negative sense, but in a positive sense, because imagine, most people in the world do not have this experience of wanting and needing and feeling that Mass is important. Most people in the world have never had that feeling that you and I have now. And that's making us frustrated because we can't use the Eucharist and receive the Eucharist as we have. So let's break out and also find ways, how do we glorify God? There are many people in our families who never go to Mass, don't want to go to Mass. Many of our children, my own siblings, brought up in the Catholic faith but never go. Maybe it's an opportunity for me to find out if in talking to our families and relatives, to share this feeling of deprivation. So I'm really longing for Mass because. So that will give them perhaps an inkling of a feeling that you have that is meaningful in your life that has no meaning for them at this moment. Perhaps. I just throw these crumbs out as I am trying to pick up crumbs in the time of understanding how we are to live for the glory of God during lockdown. Feed my sheep. How do we feed when people can't even come through the door? There are many ways of feeding. Spiritual communion, spending more alone time, personal time with God, reading Sharon Grusendorf's book will lead us in very gentle, kind ways to have a depth of our encounter with God. So today, yes, let us acknowledge that this Mass is for us who are accepting, anxious and depressed. But not so that it is an end in itself, but that it is a means to glorify God. Let's try and find those means together. To end, a few quotes from George MacDonald. I don't think it was the McDonald's hamburger man. If it was, I'll be surprised. But here's a quote from George MacDonald. Afflictions are but the shadows of God's wings. Afflictions are but the shadows of God's wings. How do we respond to the modern shepherds of Christ's church? Having been given all these guidelines, how do we respond to the leadership, the people who are our shepherds? Do we know all the facts before we criticize them? I've realized when I got the guidelines that they made perfect sense. I'm now seeing things as to why we have to do things in the church that I hadn't realized before, or certainly the depth. Let's open our hearts of love, and battle through this together. Amen.